Let's say I'm a buyer. Am I reading that book?
You are.
Okay.
You should read the book, in my opinion, because it's going to point things out to you that the first chapter of the book is called Condo Virgins.
Oh, we're talking now. Can I see this thing? Wait, Condo Red Flags, a condo buyer's crash course.
Correct.
So chapter 1 is called what?
Condo Virgins.
All right.
So what does Condo Virgins mean? It means that you're working with an agent that has never sold a condominium. Now, I'm not putting any agents down, but an agent that has never did a transaction with a condominium, you know, an experienced agent is going to be teaching them to go through it.
I can imagine.
Because when you buy a condominium, you're not buying just the condominium. You're buying into a community.
Huh. So already the culture that's formed in a way.
Correct.
There's current ideas flowing and people living a certain way. Is that?
So what that covers is like a brand new agent, you're putting your life savings on the line when you're buying something. So you better be dealing with an agent who knows what they're doing or who gets help from their mentor who has done a transaction. I teach condo courses. I wrote a course called Condo Red Flags.
Where do you teach that?
The American Real Estate Institute.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a certified teacher for the state of
And you've
Pennsylvania.
been in the business for 39 years.
Correct.
Almost 40.
Almost 40.
Let's learn today. Turn the camera on.
So,
turn the audio up. Listen closely. Yeah.
So I started buying condos back in the 70s. I bought my first one in 78.
Wow.
It was at 1900 Boardwalk in North Wildwood. And like condos were just starting, at least in Wildwood and in Philadelphia. They were brand new in that time.
Yeah.
So I bought in. I didn't know anything about condominium. My friends said to me, "George, what are you, freaking crazy?"
And this is before you were in real estate.
Or it was like I got licensed in 78. It was the same year. Yeah, same year I got licensed.
Same year.
Yeah. So I bought like 400 square feet on the ocean. It was an ocean. It was 1900 Boardwalk. It's still there.
Wow.
Anyway, my friends were saying to me, "George, what are you doing? You're paying 32 grand. That's what it was.
That's a lot. I mean, in the 70s.
In the 70s, it was. They were like, you're buying space in a building, you know? But you're not just buying space. You're buying the amenities. You're buying the lifestyle.
Okay.
I mean, you're on the boardwalk. You're walking, the ocean. You're looking at the ocean. It's an incredible building, and it was a great experience.
There's something to be said about that you saw that before it was a thing. It was Arthur Schopenhauer. He said that talented people hit targets people don't hit. Geniuses see targets and targets people don't see.
True.
You can tell your friends that. So, like, what made you see that it would be valuable? Because I could imagine that would be.
I really didn't, I didn't think I was going to get rich off it, but I had stayed in the building already with friends. They rented there, and we were partying like crazy, and it was crazy. But, it was very strange because I was only in my 30s at the time, and the community there were all in their 50s and 60s. So they looked at myself and my wife like, "What are you guys doing here?" And we were from Fishtown.
There you go.
Back then it was like, Fishtown looking down. But that has turned, obviously.
Yeah. I live in Fishtown.
So,
Go Fishtown.
So, Fishtown was like a working class neighborhood back then. And we weren't really embraced by the community because we were young.
Condo.
Yeah, in the condo.
Interesting.
So condos are very strange because, and it talks about it in there. There's certain cliques that form in condominiums.
It's all culture.
It's like, if you're in the clique, you're part of the community. If you like to socialize. So there's all kinds of issues with buying into a condominium. Then there's condominiums that are professionally managed, and it talks about it in there too. For example, this building is professionally managed.
And we are at the Reef?
We're in the Reef. I mean, this whole community at Waterfront Square is professionally managed.
So the community is called Waterfront Square?
Correct.
And that's where your broker's office is?
Yes, my office is here. I live here. And
well, they say, you want to be happy, live 2 minutes within it's where you work. That's a whole nother.
Pluses and minuses. You're never off the clock. You're like freaking.
You don't turn off.
Yes.
So was it condos that or that experience when buying your first condo that
well, I didn't. I continued in the condominium market. I didn't get into condos until years later. So I bought that in '78. I opened up Cahill Realty in Northeast Philly in '84.
So you were an agent for 5-6 years.
Yes.
Independent. What company were you with? Was it
home agency? It was a home agency.
Was it a mentor or was it just their marketing?
I got a little story. I was taught by a top producing agent.
Okay.
I went in. I was the only Gentile in an office with 40 agents in Northeast Philly. So
that's the culture.
Can I say his name? Because he just called me 2 days ago.
I don't see why not.
His name is Sherman Layden. I love him. The guy's a brilliant, smart, really great guy, and he was my mentor. My mentor.
Wow.
So he taught me. When I first went there, he said, "Here's what you're going to do, George, for the next 6 months. Here's a book. It was called The Coles Directory. It was about this thick. And it was a reverse directory.
Okay.
So my job for the first 6 months was to make cold calls.
Oh, we love those.
So...
What, first sale by owners?
Well...
Expired listing? How did it work?
We had scripts. And they're still, the scripts are used today. Real estate agents still...
Who was the coach then? Was it... This is before Ferry. Who was it?
There was no coaches.
Lloyd Wickman?
There were no coaches then. There were nothing. No.
Wow.
The MLSs were like this thick, was a book. There wasn't any computers.
It was like the Wild West.
Yeah. So, but this guy was a top producing listing agent. So I worked under him, and he took me under his wing for, 2 years. Took me on appointments and really showed me how to procure listings.
Huh.
If you have the listing, you're controlling the market.
So you learned that from the first 6 months.
Correct.
How important was that for your...
Well, at the time, I was also a firefighter.
Okay. What, full-time?
Full-time Philadelphia firefighter, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I would work in the firehouse, and I had 4 days off. So it was 4 days on, 4 days off.
Wow.
So it was like a perfect scenario to have a great part-time gig. And firefighters are very cliquish. In other words, they refer business to each other. That's kind of like a network, built-in network.
They spend a lot of time with each other.
Yeah, so there's firefighters that are plumbers, there's firefighters that are roofers. They do, you name it, they do it. So they started referring me business. So as I'm working at home agency, getting trained by this guy, I'm getting listings from firefighters who are referring me business.
Was that in the first 6 months?
That was probably the first year.
Okay, so for that first year, you're in the business, you had a full-time job, but there was like a four-day rotation. So did you take it, the 4 days that you had off, did you take it like you have 4 days of full-time real estate work?
Pretty much. But you also it was 2 days day work, 2 days night work, and 4 days off. So you actually had 6 days in a row off.
Wow.
You'd work your night works, go home and take a nap, and then go into the office. So we started working sale by owners.
Okay.
And they're the toughest market.
They don't want to deal with you.
They are the toughest market still today. I had 2 new agents that just came on board this week. Guess what they're doing?
For sale by owner?
They're going to start working on sale by owners. So I love...
When you plan to interview an agent that isn't lazy for an industry.
So the air came on, thank God.
Oh, we're good.
So my job, so let's go through the history. I buy that. I work for 6 or 7 years. I buy out an office in Northeast Philly.
Was that after 6 years of mentorship, basically?
No, it was around 4 or 5 years later.
Got it. So you said, I'm striking out on my own.
Yeah, every time, back then, it was hard getting paid when you had a lot of money in the can. So I got to the point where I had to fight for my money.
Wow.
So I said, screw this, I'm going to open my own.
It's like you had so much inventory kind of going on.
Yeah.
and it was like a battle almost.
Right.
And this is in the mid 80s.
Well, the market started to turn.
What, mid 80s, 85, 86?
I opened, I bought Jared Realty in 86.
The market tanked then.
And it tanked. Yeah.
And then you got Black Friday, 87.
And the interest rates were going up like a year or two later.
Was that Reagan?
I can't.
I think so.
I think it was before Reagan. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
it's
anyway,
before the Berlin Wall.
the interest rates go to 14, 15%, and it was like a crazy market for 2 years. So somehow I made it through because I was going after listings, and I always had listings, and you got creative when the interest rates went that high. Seller financing, you did anything to get through.
I could imagine that would really make it difficult for the buyers to work in the marketplace, and then even the sellers to sell. Like almost like when interest rates are super, super high, correct? It's kind of hard to move.
Correct.
So
the
you're
market goes
whatever you can do.
Yes, you got to get creative.
To survive.
You got to get creative, and a lot of these owners owned them mortgage free, so they could hold them financing short term, and make the deal happen.
Wow.
But then the market started to come back, and I opened my second office in Fishtown on Girard Avenue, next to the 26th Police District.
Was that 87, 88?
That was in 88.
Okay.
And I worked that market for probably until 96. And then I'm driving up Delaware Avenue one day, and I see this sign at Pier 3 that says foreclosure, condos. And stop my car, go in. I said, this is right up my alley. I wanted to move. I was driving every day back and forth from Northeast Philly.
Yeah.
So finally I said, I got to get down in the center city because I didn't want to be up there anymore.
And it's already a lot of work in real estate to begin with. You don't even sleep.
But I had, when I was in Fishtown, I was buying homes for $5,000. At one time I had 35 units in Fishtown.
And that you owned as a real estate investor and a realtor at the same time?
Correct.
Was that the initial idea when you got into the real estate business? Hey, I want to build wealth.
No, I didn't really have a plan.
Interesting.
I didn't have a plan to do it. It just kind of like naturally happened. And I would see a good deal and say, God, I got to buy this. This is crazy. So then I buy the one at Pier 3. So I got an office there and an office in Northeast Philly. And so I was down here most of the time. So I opened an office in Pier 3. A year later, I moved to Pier 3. And then I became really spoiled because I walked down the stairs and I was in my office. I'm still that way today, so it's like...
Go around the mountain there.
So
part of the culture.
So the market kind of took off then.
This is the late 90s, before 2000.
Yeah, it's getting into 2000 when the market really starts to, because I opened 88, 96, probably like, maybe you're right. Maybe it was like
99,
98. The market's sizzling, and
real hot then.
Real hot. I'm luxury condo realty at the time. Coldwell Banker approaches me. It says, George, we want to merge with you at Pier 3.
Okay.
At the time, I had about 15 agents, and we do it. And the next thing we know, I did this on my own. I didn't even check with the broker. I went out and I leased more space.
Oh, okay.
Next to Pier 5.
But you're thinking growth?
Growth.
Expansion?
Exactly. He was like, George, you're crazy. I said, well, I'm doing it with or without you. So we do it.
Wow.
Within a year, we had 50 agents in the office.
Wow.
So it's blowing up. And the market's sizzling. I got great agents with me. I had Bruce Lang, who was with Coldwell Banker, Marlon Klein, some really top producing agents. And we had a network of followers, investors. The market was that hot that all we had to do was say, this is our next pick. This is where you should buy.
And they do it.
And they would do it.
So you had trust.
Correct. And that happened with this community. So we have this network of buyers, not just me, 4 other agents in my office that were seasoned and had a following. So Waterfront Square gets announced, and the market is still red hot. So they announced this sale here, and we start sending it out to our buyers. We literally sold this is all pre-construction off of plans.
Wow.
We probably sold, my team and myself, 25 units here. So this place took like 3 years to build from there.
Wow.
Right? So I'm still working at Pier 3, no, I'm sorry, at Pier 5. The sales center developer opens up an office. I don't know if you could put this on camera.
Well, we should put all of them. Just kidding. You'll pick and choose.
So I'm working in my office one day. Now this is, they opened their sales center above my office.
Okay.
Which is like a godsend. All the buyers are coming to their office. We're trying to grab them as they're coming in.
Yeah.
So crazy times. Anyway, we finally, I have a buyer, and I walk into the, and I'm still friends with these developers. I share space with them. If I told this story, they would laugh because they're how crazy this was. So I walk into the sales center one day and I say, I need a brochure. I've got buyers. I got to show them the floor plans. They hand me the brochure, and inside the brochure is the entire buyer's mailing list for Waterfront Square.
No way. So
I looked the thing over and was like, are you kidding me? Email addresses, names, phone numbers. So
that's a good steal, I guess you could say.
So
total accident.
No comment on the steal.
Total accident.
Total accident.
Blessing in disguise.
So I take the email addresses, put them in a database, and start marketing to all these people that are under contract. And here's the funny part. Look, I'm starting to tear. The developers are like going crazy.
Really?
They hire a lawyer and send me a cease and desist.
I could imagine. Wait, I could imagine.
So I did.
Yeah, okay,
I stopped.
You did.
I stopped. Yeah. But strangely enough, back then, the market was so hot, nobody wanted to do rentals. I was pretty much the only agent at that time who said, half this community was bought by investors. Here. So
interesting.
I start soliciting those investors to do the rentals, okay? And the rentals were, at that time, $1,500 a month for a one-bedroom. So now they're at $1,950.
Yeah.
I start getting all these listings for rentals. So we're grabbing the first month's rent for each transaction.
Yeah, and then eventually people move, they buy.
So I'm getting the turnovers. A year later, George, we need to rent it again.
Yeah.
The market turns, goes in the tank. They hire me here. They had so much respect for me because of my aggressiveness, these guys, that they hired me as their sales manager here.
Okay. Now,
that's to handle the sales in the reef. The market turns. And
early 2000s?
I'm not really good on the dates, but I want to say, well, this was built this is 12 years old.
Okay.
So it was, 15 years ago.
Got it.
13 years ago, the market turns.
Yep.
And flat line on the sales. And the blessing in disguise, I'm here and they're building the reef, and I'm telling the developers, you're crazy, you're never going to get these numbers. But the developers, and I don't know if you can put this in the video or not, the developers the pricing was controlled by the construction lender.
Okay, makes sense.
So the construction lender pretty much was controlling, wouldn't let them reduce, even though I was saying you have to reduce if you want to sell these units. So
everyone's probably in a stall at that point.
It was flatlined. There was people under contract, but nobody else.
It's a great recession, is it?
Nobody else was buying. So the moral of the story is that the rentals that I was doing carried me through that horrible market.
Was that so? All because, in a sense, you saw that that could be a good opportunity in the future to hedge your bets in the business.
Correct.
And you were in the right place, the right time.
I knew coming here that I wasn't going to make any money on sales, but I also knew that I already had a captive market. The rentals were still going on, and they got me through the tough times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's, things start climbing. I mean, a lot of the real estate agents in the area that to this day they've got pretty good market share. A lot of them came into the business around that time, from what I've seen. I interviewed a lot of them. What was it like when it started regaining for you, or where were you in your life?
It's kind of weird
because a lot of things are timing. Right?
It's really strange because the market, we've been in a cycle. We've been in a good cycle for
11 years.
11 years. I'm very paranoid because that market.
We're 12 years in, almost a 7-year cycle.
So, I'm looking at myself saying, when is this going to turn?
Yeah.
Is it going to turn? I'm a licensed auctioneer just in case. In Pennsylvania, if it gets really bad.
Yeah.
But, I count my blessings. Some people, I went to a seminar 2 weeks ago, and a guy at First Trust Bank said, we're coming to the end of our good times. I don't know if he's right or wrong, but he's been in the business for 30 years. He's also seen the ups and downs.
Yeah.
So,
putting yourself in that position, right? It's 2008. Things are 9. You've made it through. You're here, and you have the brokerage office that you have now.
Correct.
You in a place in your life you're like, this is a really good thing.
It was, and it's still a great thing, but there's always ups and downs, and it's my goal in life is to teach and to help people.
Oh, I love that.
And that I teach my new agents. Sherman instilled in me. He loved teaching. Even though he was the manager of the office, and he was also a working manager, which I still am, a working manager. But I love seeing people, brand new agents, become successful. There's nothing better than that for me.
And there's plenty of people that you could work with because about 90% aren't in the business within the first 18 months.
Talk about virgins. I don't know if you could say this.
Please say it all.
But I've had probably 50 virgin new agents that I brought into the business. And I'm very proud.
Okay, so they had never been in the business.
Never been in the business.
They were interested in being in the business.
Correct.
And they've come into the business, and out of the 50, these are 50 that have stayed?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's another 300 that...
yes, for sure.
No, that's amazing. Okay, so let's say 50 people that...
I was thinking about doing a video, but I think they'd probably kill me.
With each one?
With each
like
one.
Like a testimonial? Well, why not?
Yeah.
I'll call. Wait, it's like the developer list. Give me their names. I'll call them. Right.
Yeah.
I'll get their email. No, that's so cool. Because if you think, how many years would you say out of the 50, the least amount of years one of them's in the business, and then the most amount of years?
Well, when a person comes to me now,
yeah,
I say to them, how much reserve do you have?
Okay.
Because you're coming into a business that you better have 3 months reserve in the tank.
Probably a good idea.
Because if you sell something today, you're not settling for 60 to 90 days. Now, I also teach my agents to go after rentals immediately because that's fast money.
Yeah.
So these 2 new agents are going to be going after rent by owners, sale by owners, expireds, you name it.
Like from day one, they're attacking that.
Correct.
And they're hedging their bet with
Correct.
rentals and going after listings.
Correct.
Focusing on listings.
Correct.
That's what you teach them.
Correct.
So
how long does a person stay in?
No, I mean like out of the 50, what's the least amount of time they've been in the business? 5 years? 3 years? And then
some of them come in
20 years ago that's been
Some of them come in and say, this is not for me. They're out in a month.
Got it.
The majority of them, I would say the majority of them make it if they do the right things, but real estate is like, you got to be really time management oriented. Because, if you're not focused on top producing activities, forget it. you're gonna go under.
So there have been people that you had mentored or maybe inspired to join real estate that have been in the business 10 years?
Absolutely.
And even longer, maybe?
Yeah.
If you think of how many people they probably help move or sell a home every year, there's like tens of thousands of people that you've helped.
Yeah.
It's like we're all connected.
Yeah, true.
I can walk down the street. I did it just yesterday. I pushed this old lady. I'm just kidding. No, you hug someone, and they might hug another person, or you yawn, and then everyone's yawning.
So if you asked around, people will say, "Yes, I mentored under him," and we have. It's a stressful business, so we try to have fun, while we're doing this, because if not, you're going to go crazy.
What are some of the ways that you keep it lighthearted and you don't take it so serious? Like I know that rollerblades when he's on the phone,
I like to laugh. I joke a lot. I'll pull practical jokes. I kind of keep it, my agents all think I'm crazy, which I am. And, but, if I'm not having fun doing what I'm doing, what's the point? And I still enjoy it. I still enjoy teaching people. I still, as crazy as it is, I love challenges.
Wow.
And I love going after sale by owners because that's probably one of the most challenging parts of the business.
Is that consistent part of your schedule to this day?
It hasn't been. I've gotten lazy.
Okay.
Not really lazy. My daughter got sick.
Oh.
My daughter got sick 9 years ago.
Okay.
And breast cancer. And for the last 2 years, it's been really a struggle because we lost her in June of this year. So for the last 6 months, I said, screw everything, I'm spending time with her. And, so I kind of abandoned my agents in a way, but I had to, and they knew it.
You felt like you detached a little bit.
And they understood.
And you recognize that.
Yeah. So with these new agents coming on, when new agents come on, their enthusiasm is contagious.
Yeah.
And I say to them, before they came in, I said, listen, this is a huge commitment on my part, and it's a huge commitment on their part. We have to commit to each other to do this. And once they make that commitment and I see they're committed, that springs me into action.
What are some things that you look for to see if someone's actually committed, not just says they are?
Well, if they drive to Harrisburg to get their license, they're motivated. So
I did that. There you go. We're friends.
So
3 hours or 5 hours. It's like a long.
So by the way, there's a backlog. They're up there today. One of them got it last week.
Nice.
Another one went today. They told me they came back and said the state is so backed up with new licenses and renewals and problem license. Their backload right now is 18,000.
Wait, 18,000 people?
Yes.
So that is one of the signs.
So they told these agents that if they didn't drive to Harrisburg,
good luck.
3 months.
Wow.
So that's the first thing I said to them. You have to drive to Harrisburg if you want to start sooner than, because
3 more months you can be getting paid.
Right.
So besides driving to Harrisburg, any clues? Let's say it's the first 3 weeks that an agent's in the business, and you're taking time to mentor them. It sounds like you do that. What are you looking for?
Showing up is half the battle.
It's like a schedule?
If they show up on time,
okay.
And I send them a template. Here's what we do for an open house.
Huh.
Here's what we do for sale by owners. Here's what we do for this. If they show up and they're on time and they're serious, that is half the battle. But the problem is now, real estate is like, you don't have to come to the office anymore. You literally don't. I mean, we have offices, but 90% of the agents don't even come in. They only come in when they have to meet face-to-face with somebody or they have a settlement. But everything's done online. All our documents are done online.
Yeah, DocuSign, all this.
It's like...
So have you seen a shift in attendance over
the
last 10 years?
I have.
Has that created more turnover? Or is
I don't
it
think
different?
so.
I
think it's kind of like the new agents are more dependent on the experience than the mentors. The experienced agents they'll call me when they get into a jam and, or they don't know how to answer a question.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they're working from home. And,
So is it important for a new agent to be in this ecosystem?
A new agent,
come
yes.
in,
Yes.
To spend time with
Yes.
you?
Training is
And so in that, do you see a big disconnect because of this digital nomad
Not
culture?
if they're committed, they come in.
So no matter what, they're committed.
They're coming in. If they want to learn, they have to be in here because you can't teach somebody how to go after a sale by owner on FaceTime.
Yeah.
It's like you got to be here.
So they do it with you.
Absolutely.
So you're like a leader.
Correct.
This is like a real thing.
So
this
they,
is real life. Wait.
I do it myself for them for a couple hours. Then I say, "You're up. You're up at bat."
What do you do yourself? You're on the phone.
On the phone.
Like you're calling other humans.
Correct.
Like real people.
Real people.
Wait, who are you? Who do I know that does that? You're calling for sale by owners.
Yes.
This is great. Nice to meet you, Jay Doran. People actually, this is great.
Yeah.
So you do that.
I
And they
do
watch.
And they watch, and then I say, "You're at bat. Make a call."
And then you sit there with them.
I do.
Oh, this is so great. How big of a difference do you see that making with people that really have it?
Well, if you're new and you're like, you don't have, and I go back to Sherman. This is what he taught me.
Your mentor taught us.
We would just see ads in the
That's great.
paper. We would see ads in the paper. He'd say, "George, call this person," and he would sit and mentor me and show me how to do it. But the stories he made up, Sherman, I love you, but I'm not going to repeat the stories. But once they make the call and they get past that initial fear,
Yeah.
and they get in the door,
And it works.
So, my goal is when I make the call, all I want to do is take a look at the property. You can't close over the phone. Let me take a look at it, and I'm teaching them this.
Yeah.
All I want to do is come out and take a look at it, see if we can work together, see if I can help you. And my goal is really to help them. I want to get,
Yeah, of course.
because, for example, a rental in Philadelphia, probably 50% of the investors out there don't know that you need to be legal in the city of Philadelphia to rent a property. You need your landlord license, you need your business opportunity license, and probably the most important document is called the Certificate of Suitability.
Wow.
So, what happens if you don't have any of those documents and you rent?
Sounds like a fine or something.
It's not just a fine, it's worse.
Really?
If you don't have these licenses, and you can't get all three without having one, all three of them. You can't get one.
Need all three.
You can't get one and not have the other two. You've got to have all three of them to be legal. I'll give you a story, a true story. I'm managing a unit in this building, and for 2 years, this is a lawyer that's renting from us. All of a sudden, she stops paying the rent. I call her up and I say, what's the problem? There's no problem. You didn't give me a rental suitability certificate.
Wow.
This is like 4 years ago. And at that time, lawyers weren't using that certificate as a reason not to pay rent. Now
Wow.
it's all over the place. If you go to the court now, you can't even get into the hearing unless you have these three documents.
So someone was able to use that against the landlord renting to
Correct.
avoid paying the rent because
Correct.
they were actually following the law.
Correct.
That's a scary thing. Talk about your cap rate now. Get your so people hire you because you know stuff.
Correct.
It's so common sense.
But when I call a rental by owner, I say to them, "Do you have your licenses to rent?"
That's a good question they ask, though. Call investors.
Half of them say, "What licenses?" So,
Do you use Vulcan or Mojo Dialer, any of those services?
I've used those. I use RedX right now.
Okay, because you can pull up the rentals.
Correct.
You call that and you ask them these questions. Great.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
solid.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you come in as the authority.
Well, I take them out. First of all, these two girls are going to be a team.
Okay.
So one of my concerns is always safety. Like you're calling a sale by owner or rental by owner. I go out by myself, but I don't like brand new agents to go out by themselves. I don't like them to sit open houses by themselves.
It could be definitely.
So I always try to have a team of people working together, especially on open houses. I don't worry as much about here because, this is a gated, secured community. You're sitting out in an open house out in the middle of nowhere somewhere. You better have 2 people there for your own safety.
Yeah.
So, they're aware of that now, and most of my agents will not sit unless they have somebody with them. Unless they're carrying.
I got a book for you. It's called Clear Boundaries. A friend of mine just wrote it. Jessica Peterson and Christine Beckwith, the vice president of Annie Mac locally, and it's about how to be safe in environments like that.
Wow.
Someone who was just lost at Annie Mac.
I know. What's the person's name? I know a girl that's.
I wasn't close to them, but yeah, they have this new book. I just gave them a testimonial because I read it the other day. I'll get you a copy. But it's about this.
Yeah.
Because it can be very dangerous.
That's dangerous.
Christine was actually almost assaulted in an elevator.
Yeah.
It's like the guy was like, "I'm going wherever you're going." She's like, "What floor are you going on?" So she faked a phone call. But it's interesting that you actually take notice of that in your real estate business and are thinking about the
yeah, I am
safety.
because I feel responsible. It's like if something happens to them, I want to say, listen, I told you not to do this.
It's on your head. Well, in all the years that you've been in the business, almost 40 years of experience, have you seen things happen? I have
7 true real estate stories written that we're going to produce.
Is that a book coming?
Well, it's not really a book. It's going to be like a screenplay.
Okay.
Of 6 stories that really nightmare stories.
Oh wow! People watch that.
People watch it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one of them that's pretty funny. I'm in Fishtown. I have an office there, and I'm partying the night before. So in Fishtown, there's 2 streets that cross, Susquehanna and Norris.
Okay.
They call it the Forks. So there's a real estate office called Peters Realty at the time that has an office on Susquehanna. He has a listing on Norris Street. No, the listing was on Norris Street. His office is on Susquehanna. So I picked the key up at Susquehanna, and I'm confused because I always get confused with those 2 streets. So I get the key in his office. I walk out across the street, put the key in the door, unlock it, and I walk in. So I walk into this house with the buyers, and the house, it says in the MLS, it's occupied. So I'm looking around, and there's no furniture in the place. I'm like, this is supposed to be occupied. So we go, it's a 3-story brownstone. We go floor by floor. They're loving the place, the buyers. We get to the top floor, and inside this bedroom is a woman that's about 85 years old, sitting in the middle of the room in a chair with a TV 10 feet from her.
Like us.
That's all that's in the room. I look in, and I'm like, something's not right here. So I look at the buyers, and I say, I think we better get out of here. And they said, let's go. So we hightail it out. I realize I'm on the wrong street.
You're on the wrong street. You're in the wrong house.
Correct.
With buyers.
With buyers.
How did you get in there?
The key worked. Now, this is the strange part. I go into the right street, Norris Street, put the key in, show it, get in. They like this one too. We're coming out of the door, and this is a true story. I hear screeching tires coming up the street. And we come out of the house, and the buyers are next to me. Car pulls up on the pavement and braces us against the wall. Gets out of the car and points a gun at me, the driver. Says, "What were you doing in my house?"
Oh, that's scary.
Here he was an off-duty cop. And I won't go into the rest of it, but he had a record of being like a loose cannon. Anyway, I think he was embarrassed that his mother was in there by herself.
Yeah.
So
that's the scariest thing ever.
I said to the buyers, "I'll see you next week." They said, "I don't think so, George."
I don't think so, George.
True story. That's happened to me like 3 times.
It's time to get the mortgages after this. What? You want the mortgage?
So I lost those buyers, obviously.
Oh, If you take that story and film, even with not a massive budget, just a short
trailer.
3-minute
trailer,
even just a trailer. So there's a 3-minute video like that. For Facebook, you can target and actually get attention and build an audience. Something funny, but with that has a premise, and actually use that to attract business.
I don't think people want to work with me as buyers. So.
Well, it's like there's always a spin to something. It's like get their attention.
I was hungover. That's the caveat.
Yeah, like I feel like there's something there, right? Like if a well done video. Just to get attention, because without attention, we can't do much with it.
And people love true stories, even though you have to change names and everything.
I think it's brilliant, and there's a lot of value always comes from telling the truth.
Yeah.
Most people won't do it, right? So, this book, when did you write this? I was curious about that, because I'm a writer. I write every day.
I think it's been done 2 years ago, around 2.
Have you always had an inkling to write?
I have. I'm a songwriter.
Okay.
I've always been writing stories. I'm still writing stories. I'm working on one now called Condo Millionaire.
Really? Is it going to be a book of this nature?
It's going to be a book about 4 real estate agents.
Okay.
About how to make money in the condo market.
So 4 realtors, how to make money in the condo market as far as the residential sales side?
Correct.
How to tap into it?
Correct.
Rent them, sell them?
Yeah.
And what's your process when it comes to, like, not a lot of people have books that they wrote.
My process is
like, this was you that wrote this?
Yes.
Like you?
Yes.
There's no ghost here?
No ghost.
No, so there's something to be said about that.
Yeah.
What's your process? Yeah.
My process back then was, writing, iPad.
So you type?
Back then I did.
Okay.
But now I dictate.
So you talk into something like this?
Correct. And I send it to a transcriber.
Okay.
They transcribe it, format it, proper English, and it's way faster, way easier.
I can imagine.
So you're actually sitting down talking to yourself, telling a story.
How often do you talk to yourself?
All the time.
God, no. I don't know all the time. I think there isn't anyone that doesn't talk.
I talk to myself on the way over here.
Oh, perfect. All right. That's usually what people do before they meet me.
But, it's really become, if you're writing, that it's a process that you go through that you have to be really dedicated and enjoy it. But
it's interesting because a lot of people there's a book called Daily Rituals. And it's about 160 different inventors, writers,
Have you ever heard of Doran?
Yeah, The Compound Effect?
I don't know. I don't know if he's written books, but he has
He runs Success Magazine?
He has a free, or he used to be editor, I think, of that. But he has a free daily morning mentor, 2 or 3 minute video, and they're really good. I recommend tuning in.
Doran Hardy has a book called The Compound Effect that's extremely popular.
Yeah.
So the premise of this book is basically like there wasn't one thing that really stuck out amongst all of these inventors and writers other than that they just did it every day.
Exactly.
So are you when you're working on this book, you're consistently doing it?
I'm not.
I'm
not. With the loss of my daughter, I was really, grief is a weird thing.
Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine.
It hits you. You'll be fine if you haven't lost somebody close to you.
Ever.
It's happened to me. I lost 2 younger brothers.
That thing keeps turning off. Do you need?
No, I don't know.
Whatever. We got this. We're good. We're beautiful.
2 younger brothers early in life, and my daughter, my parents. So, it's like it comes in waves. Grief.
Yes. Like what are some of the things that you tell yourself to overcome?
I talked to a friend of mine who, he knew about my daughter. He knew what I was going through, and he never told me this until recently when he called me up and seen how I was doing. Because this only happened, 2 months ago.
Wow.
But she was at the point where she was suffering so much that, you're the first person I've ever talked to about this, by the way.
Well, I appreciate your honesty.
And it got to the point where she was suffering so much, I was saying, please take her, because her quality of life was gone. But, so I'm telling my friend the story, and he said, George, have you ever heard my story? And I said, no. And he told me this story about 12 years ago, how his wife had just delivered a baby. And she was driving over the Longport Bridge, pulled over, threw the infant into the ocean, and jumped in after her, committed suicide. I was like, his wife and daughter. I was like, speechless. So, and why am I getting to this? I said to him, how did you get through that? He said, I worked, George. He said, if I didn't have my work, I'd have blown my brains out.
Yeah.
So, what am I saying? You asked me how I'm dealing with it. I deal with it. You put it on a shelf. You work and you stay occupied for as much as you can, and then you go back and you grieve. And it comes in waves. You'll see a picture and you're like, here I go again. I'm going to break down for a half hour. Then you get back up on your feet. You just got to keep going on.
So it's interesting you bring that up, because in 1991, my biological mother was running from the mafia and threw me on the desk in the Newark Police Department, and said, the mafia is chasing us, you have to protect my son. Turns out that there was no mafia. She was schizophrenic, bipolar, manic. She was on a run, a tear. She had a college degree, nurse. That was irrelevant. She didn't take the proper steps to overcome that, and maybe tried and couldn't, right? So from the moment I was adopted in October, I was born in 91 in July. The moment I was adopted at 3 months old by a woman in her 50s, there was internal conflict. There was a juxtaposition between the resentment that I held against the woman that adopted me, who could never be my real mother, and the resentment that I held against the woman who left me, who I didn't know any of these facts until my mid-20s. Coming full circle after studying to life to try to understand myself, there's a psychological understanding of when we're competent at something and we can focus on that competence, and that thus serves others, there's a neurochemical, spiritual, psychological, sociological benefit from that. It's like, be useful.
Yeah.
Overcome yourself by helping other people overcome other things.
Yeah,
there's some kind of brilliance in that, or beauty in that.
You got to go on and help. You got to. That's my goal in life right now, is to help other people.
Is that something that? So, like, I spent my whole life attempting to articulate myself, to overcome myself. Is that something that you have learned with time, with time, experience, with
time? Yeah.
Time.
Yeah.
And reflecting and thinking about these things.
Yeah.
When
something monumental happens like that in your life,
yeah,
it puts everything into perspective. Like, the things that you think are significant, you now realize they really aren't that significant. So, cherish your relationships, your friendships. They say that the people that live the longest, there are 3 keys.
Yeah.
The first one is social interaction. If you don't have social interaction with people, you're not going to live as long as somebody.
So you're pro Tinder?
Not that.
We got it.
What's
got it.
No strings attached. It's
yes. Gotta keep light. You got to twinkle. You're like the laugh. So social interaction.
I forget the other 2. No, social interaction, relationships with your family and friends.
Okay.
I really can't remember the third.
Was it keeping busy? Dating, lots of dating.
So this guy said to me, George, if I didn't stay busy, I wouldn't be here today. My work got me through it. My work is getting me through this to an extent, but there's no cure. A friend of mine that lost two of her children. They were twins within a year apart.
Wow.
She called me 2 days ago and said, how you doing, George? I said, I'm not going to mention names, but I said, you know what I'm going through. I said, how long does it last? She said, well, the Jewish people say you get a year, and then you got to move on. I'm not Jewish. I'm like 100% Catholic, but she said that's a Jewish kind of like tradition that, after a year, move on. Your person you've lost doesn't want you grieving. They want you to move on. So that stuck with me.
When you were younger, you were raised in Philadelphia.
Correct, Fishtown.
And were your parents a foundation of who you are today?
Well, my father was. He was a really hardworking guy. 9 kids.
Huh. Wow.
I was the third.
And he stayed. He
stayed with. With
no, that's something to be said about. His character.
But he was like a really hardworking guy. He started as a truck driver for Acme Markets, worked his way up, became a steward for the truck driver for the warehouse, and worked his way up, became like the vice president of the union.
Wow.
So he became a powerful union leader. Jimmy Hoffa actually gave him and the president at the time the charter for Local 500.
Wow.
So yeah, he was really, Fishtown. He grew up in the Old City, the Cahills, St. Augustine's Church. That was their neighborhood. So I got a lot of
8 siblings.
Yes, like 6 of them don't talk to me.
Well, after this, anyone would know why. So were you
That's
the
true.
middle child?
I was the third.
Third oldest?
Third oldest.
What kind of responsibility is that growing up?
Well, my mother was an alcoholic.
Well, join the club. Builds culture.
So
my last name's Doran, right? Irish. Maria, Joe, all of them.
We grew up dirt poor, and but his work ethic instilled work in all of us. Mm. So all of us were like as screwed up
were
as
they together when you were 7, 8, 9?
Yes, they were always together. My mother and father. They never, she died young. She was like 62 of a heart attack, but she actually overcame her addiction, but too late. She didn't overcome her addiction until she was in her 40s.
God bless her for 20 years of that.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Do you drink regularly?
No, I don't drink. I get drunk off of 1 glass of wine.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, me too. 3 Long Islands and I'm done. No drinking actually either. Since 2016. How do you feel sober?
Lousy.
We should have a podcast, dude. We should have a show. So,
I want pass me the pen.
Yeah, every day I'm thinking about it. Oh, we'll put this on like.
I don't know what's
TV.
good. I don't know how much is going to end up on the cutting room floor.
Like the only thing that we keep is this. We'll just. Who are these wackadoos?
I haven't laughed this much in freaking.
Oh, no, thank you. This is great. We can talk all day. We will. We'll just keep going. We'll kick us out eventually. So you're a teenager. You're in school. What's your least favorite subject and your favorite, if there was one?
I didn't like to go to school.
Another thing we have in common.
I hooked these school for years.
So you're hooking myself.
I run away from home.
Okay, you're not there at all.
I'm not there because things got really bad.
Yeah.
So I got out of there early.
16, 17?
Earlier, like 15.
Wow, that builds some character.
So, it got so crazy in my house that I was like, I can't stay here. So I'd rather live on the street. So I ran away for a year. Got into trouble, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But growing up with like 8 siblings is not, I think about what my mother went through. It was like freaking horrible. I mean,
it's like astrohabit.
They started very young. She was like 18 when they don't give you life. Nobody teaches you to be a parent. It's like you're at 16 or 18, you're a kid yourself and you got a kid. So you're like, what do I do? I go to work, and I do the best I can.
There should be laws like teach them psychology, early child development, or law, but at least the culture, right? Like Jean Piaget wrote 65 volumes on early child development, and I just now been researching it to understand myself.
Do you have any children?
Not that have met me. Got it again. No, I would never do that to another organism. Number one,
You will.
Not
It's
now, not on purpose.
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
Later?
I'm not that guy.
Later?
Later, I'm sure that it's going to be crazy. Later, I think it would be an insult to humanity not leave my genes.
That's true.
Yeah. Total insult. Like, not cool, man.
Well, did
Why
you
not
have this?
more?
Have you had this much fun with other agents?
Probably not, especially when there's no. Sorry, all you guys. We'll get into the title. Yeah, no. I definitely.
By the way, you are a great interviewer because I feel totally comfortable with
We're
you.
just a humans, man.
No, but I mean, I have never sat down with somebody and just hit it off in a conversation the way I have with you and told you things that I haven't told anybody. So you've got a talent that you really should nurture that talent and continue what you're doing because you're providing a really good service to people.
Thank you. I mean, it's part of the reason that I can't go to Z-Bar because I'll leave every time with a date. Too good at all.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
Funny story on that. I ended up here once. Me and two Asians. Women.
And?
No,
we want to know the rest.
Talk about the whole thing. So I was at Z-Bar.
Did you know where you ended up when you were here?
I was at Yingling. I don't know what their name was. This is just rude. I'm at her. We'll keep it. I can't be not me. And it was interesting. It was almost as if they, one liked me a lot. One liked me a lot less.
Did you get both of them at the same time?
That was 50% of them were into that. The other was like, no, I'm greedy. I want it all for myself. So they ended up like having a conversation that wasn't in English, and then all of a sudden I was leaving this building, going somewhere else. And there's something to be learned about this. Number one, if you're not focused, your goals won't get achieved. So that's part of the reason that culture didn't matter. I wasn't mature enough to deserve the results that I've gotten so far in my life after I made a decision not to be inauthentic. And that was actually part of it. So when you ask me a serious question about, do I have kids? The answer is no. Will I have kids? The answer is yes. Right now, I'm not mature enough in that discipline. I'm not interested. So like if I were to have a kid tomorrow, I would definitely be the father that I didn't have to them. I would definitely be the mother that I didn't have to them. Or if there was a woman involved, like when she stayed around, she wanted to be around, I would take responsibility. And
there has to be a woman involved, just so you know.
Technically, there does have to be a woman. What I meant is if she ran away, you just got me. You got me good. That was good. So I would be that guy because that is just how, it's like, you want to change the world, change yourself. Right? So like, I could never be a speaker and open my mouth and have something valid to say if I chose to not be truthful to my progeny or to my spouse. So for that reason, I'm not on the market. I do not date. I'm very, just focused on culture matters.
Good for you.
And I appreciate the comment because that is one of the fundamental reasons why I never have to go far to get a date. Just listen to the opposite. Ask the woman questions. Listen to her. No one's listened to her. They're all walking up to her trying to tell her, you look good, or nice this, and this is what I want. So I took some dating courses growing up. Funny story. I was 18. I moved out. It's difficult, to live with a woman in her 60s when you're a grown man in a small little bedroom. We would start fighting and whatnot. So I moved out relatively young. I ended up in a Cuban family's house. 3 Cuban men. 2 younger guys my age, the sons, and a father.
Where was this?
This is in Cedar Grove, New Jersey.
Okay.
So the father had lost his wife after about 30-year marriage, cancer. So he had to get back on the horse. So he invested in 30 CDs called Double Your Dating. And each CD had a guru right? It's like a Mike Ferry, Tom Ferry, Joe Stuff, right? And it worked. He ended up landing a really nice Cuban or Colombian woman and lived with us.
I want the series.
I think I still have him. No, I'm serious. It works. He was slaying dragons. He might as well have been a dragon slayer. So this is what happened. I brought a young girl. I'm in high school at this time. I'm like a super senior. I bring maybe a junior to the house, right? And when she left, he's like, Jay, we have to have a talk. It was like, I never had one of these talks. They never followed. Sits me down. He's like, you wear glasses? Basically, he's like, I'm going to help you with the woman thing, like the dating thing, because I was clueless. And so he gave me, he might as well have opened up a treasure chest. You see golden lights. He gave me this like $600 course that he bought. He was like, I don't need it anymore. It worked for me. Have you seen her? So every day, George, I listen to these tapes. Now I'm in Nutley High School, but I'm living in Cedar Grove, which isn't allowed, obviously. I'm driving 30 minutes to school, 30 minutes back. So an hour a day, I'm listening to these gurus. What to say, what not to say, how to think, how they think. That was the beginning of Culture Matters.
Really?
Because that was the beginning. You know, Culture Matters is an education company. Our mission is to inspire people to read, write, and speak every day. By reading, writing, and speaking every day.
I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about you, by the way.
I'm just all over the place on the internet, but no one, who is that guy, right? That was the beginning of my personal development, right? So the last almost 9 years has been
doing this?
Ridiculous every day, reading and learning.
Good for you.
Because of those dating tapes.
Wow. Talk about a life changer.
Right there. I also didn't go to school. Now, they had video games like crazy. I'm 27. I was 18, super senior. I was addicted to the video games. All I did was work out and play video games and didn't pay any attention to school, didn't go to school. But my personal development, I started reading books at 20. And it saved my life. So, obviously, that's a soft spot. So I don't know the hell I was going with that. But it's interesting listening to you, and I'm really personally resonating with all of the adversity that you've been able to overcome and how the strength of character that it's made you. There's something to be said, like who you are and how you're handling life's deconstruction. Because you're reconstructing it.
Life is going to throw things at you that you never dreamt could happen. So, you just got to roll with the punches and hang in there as best you can and, put one foot in front of the other and keep walking.
You're in your early 20s. Is that when you thought, let me get into real estate, it's going to give me the freedom that I want?
No, I really didn't get into, I bought I'm 26, and I buy this house and overextend. I bought this freaking big summer. I moved from Kensington, front and Lippincott, to Somerton. I'm on the fire department.
Okay.
And a lot of firemen and cops were living up in Somerton at the time. The schools are better up there, supposedly. So I move up there. I buy this house. The needs work. It's a 4-bedroom split level. I'm like, how the frick am I going to pay for this after I get it? Yeah. So, and when you have a big house, you attract the rest of the family members. So everybody starts moving in with me, all my crazy siblings. So I say to myself, when I bought the house, I thought the guy writes the contract on the hood of a car. That's how that's how it was back then.
Wow.
Sign here, George, we're on the hood of the car outside his office. I don't know why, he didn't have a key to his office. Anyway, 6 months later, I say, you know what? I think I can do that. That was pretty friggin' easy what that guy did. So I went back there. I went back to home agency. I said, I want to get into this business. Can you give me a job? And they said, well, you got to go to the training up at Philmont Avenue. It's like a 2-week training course. I did it and took my license, got it, and the rest is history. I just took it right off. But you got to have I think what a consumer is looking for is not only trust. Sure. Like when I go into sale by owner, what do you think they want out of you more than anything?
Other than just the seller?
Confidence.
What they're looking for.
They want confidence in you.
So
you want to, when you go in there, you got to convince them that you are, and you got to believe it in yourself.
Okay.
You know, that you can sell their property, and you got to be confident about it. If you don't convey confidence and create instant trust, when you walk in the door to a sale by owner, you literally have around 60 seconds to establish that connection. Like we have connection.
Yeah.
We had a connection really fast. If you can go in and establish that connection quickly with, you know, not with just the husband, with both parties, if it's husband and wife. I'm really good with old ladies. Like they're like a piece of cake.
Maybe are you looking for more mentees? Different.
I'm really good with the elderly woman. I say, sign here, babe, and they're like, whoa. But you know, when you're going in with a husband and wife, you got to get their confidence really fast, and you got to connect with them really fast. And if you don't have a comfort level in yourself and confidence in yourself, and I'm teaching my agents this, you know, you're gonna never get anywhere.
What are some of the things that you've done throughout your life to become more confident? Or was there
Firefighting.
Yeah, fighting fires. No, like really though.
Really, I'm as a firefighter. The training that you get as a firefighter, I mean, is unbelievable.
What are some of the things that they had you do?
Well, the training consists of going in and putting out fires in buildings like in the
There's no way to get around this.
fire academy. So, you know, you're like, wait a minute, if I can get through this, I can get through anything.
Yeah, like
so,
life or death. I mean,
yeah,
in a way.
Yeah.
So
my fire department training has really helped me through even the things I'm going through today. Like the training they instill in, you know, when you're a fireman or a cop, you're laying your life on the line every time you go into the job. So they train you, and like it's paramilitary. Like as crazy as firemen and cops are, they have that basic discipline that, you know, you got to put your life ahead of my life. If you're in trouble in a fire, I got to lay my life on the line for you. So that kind of like instilled a courage in me that I still have.
Wow. How long were you a fireman?
19 years.
So this
for
was
Philly.
no quick.
For Philly.
This was a serious investment of time.
Yeah.
God bless you. Thank you for your service.
Yeah, and we fought, you know, oil refinery fires. I seen guys die next to me, and you know, it was really crazy. I almost got killed like 3 times.
So after that, what the hell is the worst thing that happened? You call it for sale by owner. It's like, how does one instill that other than you actually leading by example? Which I mean that is everything. What are some of the things that someone that isn't fighting fires can do to increase their confidence?
You got to get a good trainer. You got to be with the right person.
You think it's really a mentorship?
It's a mentorship. If you don't get the right person connected with right from the start, your chances are like really down there.
You feel like because it could jade the whole experience? Like,
yeah, because you don't have a lot of time. For somebody to make it in the business, you know, they got to click within like 2 months or they get really frustrated. So if they're not with the right mentor coming out the gate, and there's a lot of great agencies down here that have great training, but the training is one thing. The one-on-one mentorship is totally different in my opinion. So
yeah, like group versus
you know,
individual.
you can go to training from here till doomsday. If you don't go out there and do the nuts and bolts to get the business, you're going to flounder and you're going to fail.
Do you see a lot of people that use trading as a distraction, not to face?
I don't know. I don't know how other franchises are.
I've seen it.
You know, I've been at Remax, I've been at KW, I've been at Coldwell Banker. I'm kind of an independent guy. Who knows what the future brings, because there's people right now that are approaching me that want to merge and
couldn't imagine why.
And do other things, but it's so important to get, you know, if you're a brand new agent and you don't have somebody that you can, you know, team up with and shadow.
Yeah.
Really shadow. And I don't know what the other, you know, like Mike McCann's team, I'm sure he has training in place. The top producing agents, you know, they have these systems in place that ensure that their agents get trained.
What do you see as on the horizon for you the next 2 years?
I hope to write more. I hope to produce some independent movies. I still want to work in real estate. I still love it. I still want to go after listings and stay healthy. You know, exercising is so important, especially with stress.
Yeah.
So I exercise pretty regular, whether it's walking or swimming or whatever. But I'm really diligent and taking care of myself.
I've seen you do a lot on Facebook.
I love it.
Social media. What are some of the pros that you feel are from social media? And if at any cons? Let's start with the pros.
The pros are I get business from it.
Well,
I've probably got 3 listings this year from people that never would have known I was still around if I wasn't on Facebook. The cons, in my opinion, are the distraction. That if you're on there more than 15 minutes a day, and I see a lot of people that are addicted,
just
consuming and addicted, and it's a stroking of your ego, and it's dangerous to our society, in my opinion. So, you know,
is all ego. Just kidding.
it's totally so when I do social media, my goal is to get on, get posted, and get off.
Get on, get posted, and get off.
And I don't mean get off in that way.
No, you're honest today. You're quick. I gotta be careful with jokes I make around George. He's got the wit.
Gentleman George, they call
him.
But anyway, you know, it's if you are on there, and I see people, you know, I did some seminars. People are spending 3 hours a day.
Yeah, the average person's on there hour and a half.
That's crazy.
I mean, 60 times.
That's like crazy.
An hour.
You know, they say the average teenager is sending 300 texts, you know, a week.
Yeah, probably. I would think that's low even.
Yeah, and you know, it's like
Snapchat.
It's like all these things that are distraction. Where's our society going?
Oh, hell. No, I'm just kidding.
Really?
No, so it's interesting. Yeah, do you have thoughts on, I mean, you've seen the world in the last, definitely 40 years in real estate evolve. What do you think's coming?
I think agents that are not really focused on top producing activities are going to be in trouble. I think Zillow is going to be coming into the marketplace. Amazon's coming into the marketplace. They'll never replace the personal interaction that I have with my clients, but can they steal my clients by saving money? Absolutely. And they're offering these services that charge less than a lot of the other agents are charging. So they are competition. I think it's a danger to our licensed agents that we better step up to the plate and be focused on generating business and not spending 4 hours a day on social media.
Something I recently saw was on this topic. It was the information age, technology is definitely competition for the incompetent agent.
Correct.
Or the incompetent person. No doubt about it. What the future brings, who knows? Maybe this will be in our head in 20 years. Like, we don't know where that's going. It's interesting that you've taken ownership, though, of your social media and actually used it. I put people in 2 categories: consumers or creators. Being a creator like this conversation, we got to know each other. That's the cool part about this was first time we got to meet in person. I feel like I know who you are. I know your soul. Now I know, do I want to know you again or do I not? Just like
I definitely want to know you again.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. No, seriously, me too. So now the beauty of this is we had a real conversation that we'd have offline because that's how I operate in my life. The beauty of video is we can video it, we can edit it into small clips that are of value to someone watching so that they can learn about who we are and what we do. And they don't need to watch it. They can tune out. They don't want to see it.
I'm very flattered that you came to me. Why did you come to me, by the way?
Number one reason is I consistently reach out to people in the real estate community to get to learn who they are. Most of the people I don't meet with, the ones I do, 8 out of 10 of them I hate. No, I'm just kidding. No, the main reason is because we're friends on Facebook and I see you doing things on social media.
Okay.
It's interesting how it all came to play because for me personally, a year and a half ago I started doing video. I was in a traumatic accident. It'll be an anniversary this Sunday. My arm was almost ripped off my body like an ATV accident. it was the best thing that ever happened for me. I managed to get a lot of it on video. What got me through it was the community of Facebook.
Wow.
After that happened, I said, I need to start interviewing other people. It will help me grow my listening skills. It will help me learn more people. And I believe it will help them because the video camera helped me overcome accidents.
And in what way?
There's a certain degree of personal development that comes from putting yourself in uncomfortable scenarios.